Are you a school owner that has less than 100 students and you really want to get to the 100 plus students? Or are you a school owner that's been stuck at 150 and you've been there for a long time and you don't understand why you can't get over that? Join us April 16th at 11 a.m. for Project Blueprint, where we're going to cover 4 core systems that you can implement immediately into your school. That's not only going to increase your enrollments, but it's going to increase your revenue. It's going to generate a consistent lead flow into your school. And we're going to show you how you can retain just a little bit better by plugging these systems in place. You'll have a workbook. It'll be turnkey. Click the link now. Normally $99 for this webinar, but you get 50% off if you sign up today. Hope to see you there.
Mike Metzger, Shane Tossell. This is Real Talk, because not everything has to be about business.
I guess there's no intro.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Well, hello. It appeared that there was going to be an intro, but there was no intro. So I guess we just take, hey, I'm Tass, that's Metz, here we go.
All right. Why the little static talk?
It's the way he sounds.
It's the way he sounds. Okay. All right. Well, Tass. Yeah, it's
Why
weird.
do I not sound good or what?
Your computer? Oh. Perry is saying it may be our computer with the speakers because there's a crackle. Do you get that when you do your walkthroughs?
Sometimes.
Hold on.
So basically, Perry's wanting a new computer. Oh, it does a little thingy. All right, you're good. Everyone can hear you fine. It's just our computer, I think.
Does it help if I don't talk so loud? Does it not crackle as much?
Actually, it helps me, period, if you don't talk at all, actually.
Perfect. All right. Where's the X? I'll X out of here. Yeah.
All right. All right. So anyway, Q2, real talk. Q2, the summer doldrums are upon us for a lot of people in this industry. And I say that halfway funny, but look, if you're watching this, hey, Kling.
Yo.
We know the industry slows down in the summer, right? Let me just make sure I'm going to text Perry. But anyway, Task. I think it's pertinent for everybody to hear this because I think it's inspirational. The growth from Q1 of 26 from Q1 of 25.
Yeah. It was 80 plus % growth, right? So it was, I don't remember if it was 82 or 86% growth from last year. It was almost double, put it that way. It was unbelievable. And by the way, and it's just, I heard Jay Abraham say this a long time ago. It's way easier to run a successful business than an unsuccessful business. And that always resonated with me. And you get reminded of it. Sorry. You get reminded of it when when things are going well, on how much easier it really is. However, in saying that, there's work that's done prior to that to get you to the easy, right? That's the other side of it. But I do want to comment real quick on something that you just brought up. Like, we're coming to summer and the doldrums of summer, and we know it slows down in summer. I was just talking with a a new client, and they had said I was going through the 3 times a year that we lose the most amount of students. I was talking about coming into summer, coming out of summer, coming out of holiday break, and then they interrupted me. So, well, that's not the case for us. That's when we enroll the most amount of people. I said, but you didn't let me finish. And so, ironically, it's the time that we enroll the most amount of people as well. Why is that? Because routines change. And so, when you say that, we're coming in and summer can be slow, I just want everyone to understand summer can be slow in your school and you can lose a lot of students in your school. But from a mindset perspective, right, we have to know that There's reasons why. It's because routines change, which also then the flip side or inverse of that, the yang to the yin, whatever, is there's an opportunity for us to be able to grow. And I'm actually very excited for summer this year. Not because we do summer camp, by the way.
No, we definitely do. And here's a tip for everybody. First of all, you should have had your summer planned out already. It should be already done. There's three big focuses in our business all the time, but summer specifically. How are we going to recruit new students in the summer when there's a lot of people traveling, but there's also a lot of people not traveling? How are you going to retain the students you have? Because you're going to have a percentage of students that travel. And when they get out of the routine and they're on vacation, some of those students don't get very motivated to come back to class. And then the third thing is how do you generate a lot of revenue in the summer? So the answer for a lot of school owners is we generate a lot of revenue through summer camps, and that's fine. But if you don't want to do full-fledged summer camps and you still want to generate revenue, do you have a plan? And you need to have that in place, and whatever that plan is, whether it's mini training sessions through the summer. We do a huge Christmas and July sale, which is a massive revenue boost for us. But whatever it is, the promotions have already started. Like, that's number one. Then on the recruiting side, you and I have been talking about this now for 2 days because we have a summer special. But here's the thing. The summer special gets a lot of people in the building. Some people have said that it's been tough to convert people from a summer special because a lot of people will either pre-program their minds that this is a summer thing until school starts and then we're moving on to something else. Or maybe there's people that are in town and they're just doing this for the summer while they're spending time at the grandparents or whatever they're doing. But there's another part to this. And through the brainstorming of just having discussions, when you market a summer special, the only people you're going to get to respond to that are people who have some interest in martial arts and another percentage of people that have an interest in, oh, this is a cool activity. Do you want to try martial arts for the summer? But that's just one part of it because you got to remember they're on a trial. So what are we doing to get them to become a student? But there's the other big thing is what are kids looking for in the summer? And I think there's a huge percentage of families, parents and kids that are looking for really fun things to do for their kids during summer. So I know we're working on not an if or not this or that. We got to run a summer special because that always gets people in the building. I think what we got to do is with that is be more intentional of how the mechanisms and the systems to convert these people sooner than later. How do we do that? And what do we do inside? Right. But then the other thing is how do we just get people in the building over the summer? And the first thing I ask is, what is your school doing during the day in the summer? What is your school doing on the weekends during the summer? And you got to run things that are more exciting to kids or families to do it. And we're working on something there. But Q2, April, May, and June, can't wait till June to start planning. So Q2 this is where you really start making sure your summer success is tightened up.
Well, let me ask you this. Well, let me say this first, and let me come back and ask you the question I want to ask. I was talking with Mandy yesterday, and she met with a dry cleaner, right? And so, anyway, what she does in her profession doesn't matter. But it was interesting because it was this idea of I think in 1971 or something, there was 42 dry cleaners in our area, and today there's 2, right? So, is it a dying business? And after she had met with the dry cleaner, they had said, well, do you know that we have, like they'll do all of your bedding stuff, right? Like There's people that, you can break. So, your washing machine might not be big enough, or your dryer might not be big enough to be able to do that. So they'll do all of your bedding for you. Have you ever been without a washer or dryer? They actually have a laundry service. And by the way, they have a laundry service that will actually come pick up your laundry, bring it back, do your laundry, and then bring it back, and it's folded for you in the baskets. And it's like, by the way, it's $2 for the trip charge, I think, there and back, and whatever it costs for the laundry. The point that I'm trying to make is that I would think like, I don't need a dry cleaner because I don't have any, like the few suits I have, I don't wear them very often. And I guess if I needed one, I'd take it there, but I haven't been to a dry cleaner for years. But knowing that they have these other services is like, dang, well, that would be potentially would be interesting, right? Like, I might take advantage of that service if I'm like, okay, you have a lawn service that comes to your house, as an example. You can have a lawnmower, you can have all the things and do it yourself, or you can save yourself 3 hours a week of doing laundry and have the laundry service do it for you. And by the way, they pick it up and they drop it off. It's not a hassle for you at all, right? It's just having it at the front door. The reason why I say that is because like anything, I think there's educational marketing that needs to be done. And we are probably, on a scale from 1 to 10, we probably rate a 2 on educating the public as to what we really do.
So pause. This is important for everyone to understand. You have to understand that when you market martial arts, I say this all the time, but if you lined up 500 people, 500 parents, 500 kids, and say, anyone interested in martial arts, step forward, it's going to be a small percentage of people. If you say, for those of you who want to have more focus, more discipline, more fitness, more self-defense, more whatever, step forward, well, everybody steps forward. We all want that. Okay. But in order to get that, it's boring, right? If you market to kids, martial art, here's the problem, man. There's a reason why in the 70s and early 80s, martial arts was predominantly adults. Why is that? Well, because it was Bruce Lee in the 70s, early 70s. He was an adult. It was all adults.
Yeah.
Then you got the Karate Kid, and all of a sudden it flipped it on its head, and we had a rush of kids start joining. But you have to ask yourself, well, why? Why is that? It's because it was a commercial for martial arts. They made martial arts look cool or appealing. How did they do that? Well, you had the cool kids, the Cobra Kai, the cool kids in the school. They were like a group. They were the cool kids. They were martial artists. Then you had this nerdy kid, Daniel. But at the end, everyone's applauding. They're holding him up. He has this trophy. And it fed self-worth, right? And you wanted to relate with one of those groups. So kids, all of a sudden, I want to do martial arts. The problem is we don't really have those movies anymore.
Well,
for whatever reason, we don't have them. But my point is how do you articulate to the community what we do is cool, and how do you not be the best kept secret in your town by thinking all you do is kick and punch? Just like the dry cleaner, all we do is do suits or press your shirts.
Right. I think also there's never been, that's a big statement I want to process, but I think it's really hard to come close to the original Karate Kid, where not only did you have the kids that related, that wanted to be one of those characters, whether it was Daniel or Johnny or whoever it was, but the parents realized the life skills that Miyagi was teaching, right? Like, and so you were that movie marketed to both of those people, to the parent and to the kids. And that's hard to replicate, man. And that's what you have to try and figure out how to do, and whether that's in your social media, right? And I think that's extremely difficult. And I think Chris Rodriguez would probably tell you that the majority of people that do online marketing don't provide assets, meaning they don't give pictures, and they certainly don't do videos. But this is why videos can pull better than pictures, right? Is because you can tell the story through a video. And so some of those things are really important. And you've said it before. You're trying to market the result is what you're trying to do, but what are you doing, and is it really working for you? And is it time to switch gears a little bit on what you're doing and how you're doing it? Because sometimes it's just, if it's not working, that's what insanity is, right? You just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. So we've had great success from a summer special perspective, right? And by the way, when I say that we struggle with conversions, it doesn't mean we don't get conversions. I want to be clear about that.
We're not happy with the percentages.
We don't get the conversions that I'm happy with, right? Because we're better than that. And I'm like, we can do better and we can be better. And so, and that, by the way, this is what drives me all the time. And this is why, you can get excited, because it is always about trying to be better and get to the next level and move up. And if you're not feeling that passion or that excitement, in your business, you really need, a little bit of a checkup from the neck up. I mean, some of us have worked so hard to get to where we are. And for those of you that may be struggling, right, I want to say this. You're not as bad off as you think you are. Like, I'm just going to say it this way. If your expense line is here, most of us will bust our tail to get to that level where, okay, I can breathe now. Everything's paid. And some months we make a little more, some months we make a little less, but this is where we live, and it gets exhausting and depressing over time because you never feel like you're ahead. It's like some people with debt. If I could just get back to zero, man, I'd be great. Well, then you get back to zero and we're like, and then we don't invest, we don't save, we don't do whatever. Do you understand that you're 90 days away from taking it from where you are in that expense line, that break-even line, to really having life-changing impact on your life? Literally, you're like 90 days away from doing that. And now is when you should be working the hardest, because the hardest work in the beginning was to get to pay everybody else first. Now everything you do, you get to pay yourself and your team as a result of that. For me, that's where the excitement lives, but it's so hard sometimes to get the motivation to do that, right? It's so hard, especially if you're doing things that you've been told to do. Because I hear this all the time. It's nothing new. I already do that. You know what? I did 90% of the things before I came to Maya as a client. You and I have had this discussion. I did 90% of those things. It's not about the thing. It's about how you do the thing and the detail behind it. Because when you do certain things over and over and over, there's a group of you that are going to watch this and you're going to go, you know what? We love birthdays because we sign up so many people from birthday parties. And there's a group of you out here that do birthdays and you're like, I hate friggin' birthday parties because we never sign anybody up. Well, then why keep doing them? Or maybe go learn from the person that's enrolling people from birthdays, because there's a way to do it, but you get burnt out because you're not getting a certain result that you're looking for over time, right? And that's the hardest part sometimes, is like, man, I just need a breakthrough. And if I can get that breakthrough, I think I'm going to be okay. There's a documentary. You got the Masters coming on this weekend, right? Masters coming out this weekend. So Rory was in the documentary. It was last night. It was on. Awesome documentary. His dad, when he was a kid, like young, like 8, 9 years old, his dad would change the par 4 to a par 5, par 3 to a par 4 on his card. And so when Rory would go in the clubhouse after he was done, he's like, I shot 5 under, I shot 6 under, whatever. But his dad knew his child, and this is most people, by the way, but he knew that he had to have this level of confidence. And because of that, because his confidence was high, he played at a higher level. And then, of course, this is where he is today. He's legendary, right? He's one of 6 people that have won all 3 of the majors, right? And so it's pretty incredible. And that's just what happens, I think, with us every day. You develop confidence in the areas that you're succeeding in. But when you get beat up over and over and over and over, you're like, oh man, I can't get out of this. It's like a rubber band that gets stretched and then goes back to where it was. It gets stretched and it goes back to where it was. And that's where it can be difficult, you know?
Well, that was great. Very great. Very nice information there, Tess.
You're welcome. Sorry, I was on a rant. I was trying to make sure you didn't have to talk so much with
with the sniffles. I appreciate that. Thank you. But you made very good points there. And the thing is people don't think this way. They don't think from the top down. I say that all the time. They think from the bottom up. And then you brought the definition of doing the same thing over and over, that's insanity. Well, there's a big percentage of people watching that live in the world of insanity because you're dreading summer. There's a big percentage. And by the way, for those of you who aren't dreading summer, if you're running summer camp and summer is your biggest revenue maker, just pause for a second and let's assume you're not doing summer camp. Take all that revenue, you're not doing summer camp. All you're doing is your evening martial arts classes. Well, there's even a smaller percentage of you that are looking forward to summer now, right? Because you're thinking people freeze their programs, they travel, they're not there, whatever. But if you know this, fix it before it happens again and again and again. But you can't fix it unless you understand what it is that the people in your community want. And what the majority of people don't know they want is martial arts. And I'm going to give you this example. I just said it in a meeting this morning, Tess, when you asked me about the summer special, and I told you I had a meeting this morning. You know my office. You know Avalon Park. We're in an enclosed little community. It's like its own little bubble. It's like the Truman Show here. Right? We've been here for over 20 years in this school. 25 years in this little community. We haven't moved since 2008 in this spot, in this community. We've been in the same spot. Why is it that we can go 3 months and get a couple students, but then all we do is go to the elementary school across the street, do a PE class, invite people to a free event on a Saturday, or run a booth in the park across the street, invite people to our school on a Saturday, and enroll 15 people on a 1-year program. Where were these 15 people for the last year? I mean, we've always been here. They know we're here. It's a small community. They know there's a martial arts school here. Why didn't they sign up last week or the week before that or a month before that? Why? Because we didn't invite them to a martial arts class. We invited them to a goal-setting through board-breaking free community event. Do you want to teach your child how to set goals, get more confidence, feel empowered, get physically fit? Come to our free community event this Saturday. We're going to have some pizza or whatever we're doing. Oh, that sounds fun. You want to do that on Saturday? They do it. Now we educate them, build the emotion, and be our own Karate Kid movie where the parents now see the values of what we do. The kids see how much fun this could actually be. And all of a sudden now they enroll in your program. But you have to know how to market this way all the time. And with summer coming up, the last thing, just assume this, because if I'm wrong, you're still going to win. You're going to win automatically. But just assume the last thing a kid wants to do in the summer is be back in school, where I feel like I got to sit there and learn and listen. So I don't want to market that. Kids want to have fun. They can't wait for summer. We got to assume kids want to have fun. We got to assume kids are going to be with their friends in the summer because there's no school. So they can either sit at home by themselves on their tablets or their phones, but a lot of them want to have sleepovers, hangouts, want to go get together with my friends, whatever it is. So how do I cater for you and your friends to come to our school or our facility, not for a commitment, but maybe just for one day in the summer? We're going to do an activity. We're going to do something. And then educate them on martial arts and make them think, man, this would be awesome. I would love to do this. So that's what you got to be working on and thinking about all the time. But that's on the recruiting side.
Right.
And then on the retention side, why is it that a lot of schools, we know this as a fact, it's data driven. Like you said it at the very beginning, you lose your students 3 times a year. We lose the highest percentage of students, more than normal, going into summer, coming out of summer, and over the holiday break. Why? Routine disruption. Routines get disrupted. Well, what does that mean? Well, we close for 2 weeks over the holidays, but even if we don't close, kids or parents or people or adults, They're not training as consistent over those 2 weeks because they have family in, and there's always exceptions. They're traveling. They're going to visit here. They're going to have people visiting them. So that gets disrupted. So you lose routine. Over the summer, it's a bigger span. They're going to be doing stuff. Oh, my kid's in summer camp all day and he's traveling and we're going on vacation and we're doing this and we're doing that. Or they're tired because they're at the pool or their lake or the whatever. So we know what causes people to quit. Disruption in their pattern, not thinking about you, forgetting about how they feel when they're at class. So how do you overcome that? Well, we have stuff for that too, like the at-home challenges, the sticker book, the ticket system, the summer ticket system that we do, to keep them thinking about something other than just coming back to the martial arts.
Right.
But keeping them involved, even if they're not in physically in our building. And then we talked about the revenue side of it. I mean, so there's ways to overcome this. If people, let me just ask you this, Tass. It's a guess. We do not have data on this. Right. So this is a guess. This is your opinion. What percent of school owners do you think stop and spend at least, let's just talk about going into summer, Q2, 8 hours of thinking about this kind of stuff and working on their business as opposed to just working in it?
Let's eliminate anyone that does a full-time summer camp, because I believe those people spend a lot of time prepping for their full-time all day, every day summer camp.
Excluding the summer camp. And by the way, not that it's bad, but we're trying to help people that, whether you have summer camp or not, we're trying to help the evening program.
I would say pick your hard. I mean, that can be hard. That's hard too. You're making money, but it's not easy. It's hard, right? Excluding those people, you said how many spend 8 hours processing?
At least 8 hours, which is
8 hours or more thinking about what they're going to do for. It's less than 5%. And I would say it's probably less than that. I mean, it's not many. It's not many. Because if it's not done by design, it's not happening. That's me. I mean, that's my best.
Why do you think that is?
Because I've said this a lot of times, and I stole this from someone, I don't know who it was, but because I believe that people that have 8 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years of experience, whether that's in martial arts, by the way, or in business, I believe they don't have 20 years experience. I believe it's the same year over 20 years in a row. That's what I believe, because everyone gets to a level and they're stuck there. Why is that? Well, I know why, because they're not doing anything different than they did the year before, because that's why they're the same. Because the only way we get to where we want to go, and by the way, some of you may be there, which is awesome, but if you want to get to the next level, that requires you to do things that you haven't done before. You're like, but no, I'm not. I'm doing my 4 courses every year. Yeah, your 4 courses or whatever you're doing every single year. Every year you do this, every year do that. And I would challenge most of you, unless you just opened your school or unless you just came on board with consulting, I would challenge you to go look at your student count last year at this time and your student count this year. I'm going to tell you you're plus or minus 20 students. So it just tells me that we're not taking the time to do that. And so that's my logic, and that's this how I process it, because everyone is kind of at the stat. Again, are there outliers? Are there reasons why people have? Yes, there are. There's a small percentage of people, because they've made a decision, they've gotten to a certain level. But for the majority of people, they've gotten to a level and they're whether they're comfortable or they just are burnt out, they stay at that level. That's why I say it. It's otherwise there would be a definite difference between where they were and where they are this year. That's my logic.
And I think most people in any industry get into the industry for the love of the industry.
Correct.
Meaning if you're a cook, you want to open a restaurant because you love to cook and you make great food, right? But you don't love business. Martial artists love martial arts, but they don't love business. So it takes extreme discipline. However, I said this to Ricardo Laborio. We were having breakfast. Actually, it was me, Ricardo Laborio, and Dave Kovar. We were having breakfast a few weeks ago. And we were talking about something, and I don't remember what it was, but I remember I said, you can't crave something when you never had it to begin with. You can't miss it if you never had it.
Right.
And the thing is if you never understood what true success is, meaning success is defined by the individual. But if you never really lived to where you never have to worry about a bill, if you never lived to where you have someone, a student that wants an opportunity and they want full time, and you can provide that for them and bring them on full time and give them a career, that means so much. You're really changing lives at this point when you can offer careers. We change lives for our students, but it's a different level when you can take a student and give them a career to where they're supporting a family and a life and doing something what they love and giving them that opportunity. But if you've never experienced the joy of that, then it's hard to really push and grind because you just don't realize how that feeling is. What's the analogy here? The analogy is for people who like to do month to month instead of a term. Right?
By the way, it's a contract. It's just 30 days. I like to tell people
a 30-day contract, right?
That's right.
It's a 30-day contract. We have a 365-day contract.
That's right.
Right? But my point is people will say, well, I don't want to keep people here if they don't want to be here and this, that, and the other. We don't either. And that's something people don't understand. I'm not going to keep somebody in. So then they say, well, why do you have contracts? Well, because the majority of people honor their commitments. Number one, the majority of people. You're talking about the minority. If I sign an agreement with you, if I shake hands with you, my word's my bond. I mean, I'm not going back on it, right? Most people will honor their agreements. So what does that mean? Well, most people will try to stick it out and get to the end of their term. But the vast majority of people, I would say 99% of the people, I would say you, me, everybody watching this at some point wanted to quit martial arts. At some point. Now, I've been doing martial arts since I was 8 years old. So yes, of course there was, but I didn't, right? I remember my mother saying, we paid in full. Can you just go 2 days a week just for us? And I said, yes, I will do that because they paid for it. And I didn't want to let them down. Well, that changed my life. Imagine if they were on a month to month. But here's what they don't realize. Nobody realizes the feeling that you get the day you get a black belt wrapped around your waist, where there's parents that are crying from all the commitment and sacrifice, and the kid is beaming, and the feel that all of you felt when you got your black belt. So people want to quit because things get hard sometimes, things get boring sometimes, things get difficult, whatever it is. But we know what it's like on the other side, and anything we could do to get people there, I feel we are doing them a service. But if my parents signed up at a school 35 years ago, let's say, when I moved here, and it was month to month, I would not be talking with you right now. They would have just said, we'll cancel it.
Yep. Yeah, it's very true. Very true. Some of those commitments, I mean, you don't know what you're saying no to or yes to in some cases, right? And that's an example of that. I mean, it would have been crazy. Who knows what your life would have been, right?
Who knows?
Who knows, man? It is crazy. Well, let me ask you this question. I've got 80 students in my school. Not me, but this is an example. I have 80 students in my school. I'm doing $8,000 a month, $9,000 a month in revenue. I work a job. I really want to, be able to transition to my school. In order to do that, I need to make another $5,000. I'm just giving this as an example. But I've been doing this for 10 years and I'm still at 80. Like what's the most important, what do I need to do right now to break free, to get myself over this hump?
Well, we need to recruit more students, obviously. So we're going to check your recruiting and we're going to check your retention. And then what we're going to do is we're going to look at what it is that you do for recruiting. And then we're going to see what yields the biggest results. And you and I both know if you want a lot of students fast, the best way to do that is through mass enrollments. This is what we talked about earlier. You got to have a mechanism. How do I just get people into my school? But we got to look, you test. I mean, for the school owner watching that's at 80 students, if you tell me that
there's more context. I know.
yeah, if you tell me you have 20 people a month coming in and doing trials and you're signing up 2, we have a bigger problem. We don't need to focus on mass intros, right? Or mass enrollments. But most of the time it's people saying, well, I only get like 3 leads a month and we'll sign up 2 or whatever it is. But you got to dive into the numbers, and the numbers don't care about your feelings. I say that all the time. Look, let me be harsh with this. If you suck at this job, you got to say and admit it and own it. I obviously suck and I'm doing something wrong. Stop blaming everything else. You either suck at recruiting, you suck at converting, you suck at retaining, and your classes are boring. Once you own it, we can fix it. Once you own it, we can fix it. But we are also in an industry of egos. And so, but I like to assume that we are, I don't assume this anymore. I don't think we are not good at what we do. What I assume is we could be so much better. So when you assume you could be so much better, you seek ways to be better. And that's where I believe the reason why me, my team, and our schools have gotten to where we've gotten to today. Because we always know we could be better.
Right. Yep. It's very true.
I don't understand why martial arts schools don't have 1,000 students, every one of them. I don't understand that. I think they should.
Right. Yeah. That would be a game changer for a lot of people, wouldn't it?
No, Cass, 50 students would be a game changer.
I was just going to say, but for most people, like I said earlier, in this example, 50 students would be a game changer for most, and sometimes you don't realize how close you are, right? It's the old cartoon where the guy's digging with the spade or the shovel. He's underground digging, and it's frame by frame, and he stops and puts the shovel down, and one more shovel, he would have been into the gold or whatever it was behind the one more scoop or one more shovelful.
Similar to a slot machine.
You're one spin away.
$10,000 and I stop. It was the next spin.
The next spin. That's right. That's right. That's exactly right.
I think about cartoon all the time.
That is a good one. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, it is, and and here's the thing, right? There are, and I don't know what it is as of late, but maybe I'm getting more protective of my time. Maybe I'm just less tolerant. I don't know what it is, but I do realize there are people that are ready to hear the information and implement and execute, right? And then there are people that have zero goal or zero desire. They complain, but they're the ones that never want a solution. Like that, and that to me, that's probably my biggest pet peeve is like, listen, if you're going to complain and you don't want a solution, then stop complaining. You're not looking for a solution, then stop complaining, because why are you complaining to begin with? Like, you're not willing to do anything about it. And I always have said, right, you're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution. Which one do you want to be? But for those people that really, I mean, God, I hope you don't have to get where I got in order for you to take action, right? Like where you're just, you file in bankruptcy, you're in foreclosure, and you're going, man, what do I need to do? And that's when I met you, that's what I was going through. Which, by the way, in my life, and this is the reality for people. In my life at that time, $1,000 a month was massive for me. Like, I couldn't make a house. I was in foreclosure for 20 some months or whatever it was. I had filed bankruptcy. It was not an easy to. So people would say, well, it's different for you because X, Y, and Z. No, it wasn't different for me. Maybe it was different because maybe it was harder for me than it would be for anybody else. The schools that are doing 10, 15, 20,000 a month in revenue and they're okay. But it was a decision that I had to make. And because I made the decision and because there was a financial investment, it had my attention. And also, by the way, I was willing to take action because everything else I had done didn't work. And I'm like, I just need to do this. Throw away the ego, freaking listen, and go execute. And it's amazing what happens when you just listen and you go execute from what's been done before you and what's been done successfully. It's unbelievable what can happen. And this is where the frustration happens sometimes, because in 3 questions, I can figure out what your problem is and I can give you the answer. But it's not fair because I need to let you tell me your story. I need to let you tell me all the things that are going, because I've heard the story hundreds of times. It's a little bit different for everybody, but it's all the same. The story's all the same. The ending is always the same. And so I already read the book 1,000 times. And so I tend to want to just jump in and help, right? And this is where the challenges can come, because now I realize that sometimes people don't want help. They just want you to listen. They just want you to listen, but don't call me. Don't call coach when you just want me to listen. Because we can do that for a session, but then I need you to take action. We need to make sure that we're moving forward. And where I get frustrated is because I get to see what most people don't. It's not because I'm so great, but because, number one, I've been there. And number two, we've helped so many people get from where they were to where they wanted to be. And it just gets to be so easy to see it. And that's the benefit of repetition, right? And doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. And here's what might be insane is knowing what works over and over and over and refusing to listen and do it. That's the other side of insanity, I guess.
Well, because most people base their life on how they think and what they think and not data. And so what's more frustrating are people that sign up, they want the help, but then they just spend time telling you how, well, that I'm not going to do that. And that doesn't work here. My people don't. I mean, it's like, what, sir, ma'am, it's like, really? I mean, honestly, 25 years now, 1,000 schools. And you're the one school? You're the one school that this, and by the way, you're also the 700th school that have said this, but actually people have gone on and done it and it's changed their life. But you happen to find the one spot on earth where this doesn't work? I mean, is that what you think? When are people going to realize it's not your area, it's this area? It doesn't work in this area. This is the area it doesn't work in, right here. And until you start owning that, you're not going to get to where you want to be. And the other thing too that people will do is say, "Well, I'm doing 80,000 a month. My system works." No, it doesn't. Your area, your team, you happen to be in a spot with income, density, everything else, but it's not duplicatable. And by the way, what makes you think that 80,000 is good for that area?
Right.
What makes you think? Because we had schools like that were doing 80,000, which are now doing 150,000 a month in that area, right?
Yep.
So it's like your systems work how? Good enough? We're not in it for good enough.
Right. Yeah. And
this is the stuff that just people don't understand. They don't see. But like in your case, when you're in foreclosure, you don't have a choice. When you're at the bottom, you have no choice.
Right.
But to execute and not question anymore. Just, okay, I'm going to listen. And then, whew,
yep. And listen, this is going to maybe sound political, and it's not meant to be political at all, because I just want to bring this last thing up. And I just happened to glance at my phone and look at the market, and the markets are up again, right? And they were up dramatically yesterday. Well, why? Because of the ceasefire in Iran and all the things, right? Well, why do I bring that up? Whether it's the war, whether it's who's the president, whether it's the market, a recession, or this and inflation. It doesn't, like, so many times. And we we just had an event, and my son came to me and said this, of all people. He's like, I'm just amazed, listening to people just and their conversations about the uncertainty and because of X and because of, and he goes, in the meantime, he goes, like, we're having one of the best quarters we've ever had. And I said, it's because it's a mindset thing, man. And you said it's what's right here. And so I only bring that up as an example for everybody because it's relative and it's present, but it means absolutely. And you can say, well, no, hold on, because people are going to be holding on to their money. Okay, well, don't tell it to me. And what happened for first quarter for us and what continues to happen this month. So it's up to you to make a decision, because if you've said this 100 times, like, if that's the case, then you should probably just close your school because you have zero control over your business. And that's just not the case. And so I just want everyone to be mindful of that, regardless of what it is, right? And years ago, it was like, I forget the expression, oh, there was a recession, I just chose not to attend it or participate or whatever it was, right? I mean, there's going to be things that happen. Are there times where it's going to be easier? Yes. Are there times where it might be more difficult? Yes. But at the end of the day, I'll give you a guy who was beat up and tattered for 2 years. This guy, I was beat up and torn down for the last about 2.5 years ago, right? For 2 years. Why? Because I just felt like, man, we just can't make this online thing work with getting new students, getting leads, doing that. Like, it was a struggle. And what did we do? We were doing the things, we had to go back to doing the things that we knew worked. And when we went back to the things that we knew worked, which took a little bit more effort, a little bit more time, it was like, oh, I was reminded that there are people out here that want to do this, and there's droves of people that want to do what we do, but we just have to figure out the right way to communicate and get them, like you were saying earlier. And this is where I hope it's inspiring for people, and that if you're beat up and torn and tattered and you just feel like there are people in your community that want what you have, and you just need to figure out a way to get them to come in. And by the way, it's not spending more on social media necessarily. That may be the way, but it may also not be the way. There may be some other things that we need to do, whether that's going out and doing a booth event or doing a free community event or switching things up online to have a free community event that's exciting for people to come to. There's a lot of ways to do it, But man, don't give up. This is the best industry in the world, man. It really is. And we say the only bad part about it is the hours, and I don't disagree with that. But where else do you get to walk around barefoot, wear your pajamas, and be able to, change lives? I mean, it's unbelievable.
So how long has your school, the school that you have right now, how long has it been in that location?
Let me process. 9 years, going on 10 years. Yeah.
All right, 9 years. Mm-hmm. Listen, this is a lesson for everyone. We'll leave it here. So you've been in that location for 9 years. You're up this quarter from last year when you were there for 8 years. You're up almost 90% or almost 80%.
80 plus percent, 82 or 86%.
80 plus percent up. But when did you decide or say to yourself, Maya's not working, or these systems don't work? I'm going to go, it's just not working for us anymore. We're going to try something different. Well, you didn't. You didn't do that. Why? Because you owned it. We knew exactly why your school wasn't performing to where you wanted to. Well, I mean, you owned it. You were down. You were absent, right? Your focus wasn't there. You weren't holding the team accountable on the systems.
It was a top-down problem.
But in 1 year, you get back to the accountability. You get back into the systems. You have that culture of the team. And you're up 80 plus percent this quarter, first quarter of 26 to first quarter of 25. If you are watching this, what else is stopping you from trying out Maya? Ask you what is stopping you? And you got to hear yourself. Say it in the mirror, say it to yourself. Don't admit it to anyone else, but quietly just say, well, because I just believe what they say won't work for me, or I don't want to do what they say. That's okay, as long as you understand that's why you're not trying Maya. If you have tried Maya and you've quit Maya and you're doing something else. How are you doing today? And what's changed?
And by the way, what's the measuring stick, right? How are you measuring that?
Right. How are you measuring that? But
Right.
so many people come back. So many people have come back because they realize it's not something shiny. We only go by data-driven, proven systems that have worked everywhere. Not what Mike Metzger does in his schools or Shane does in his schools. It's what the most successful people in the industry that we have seen and we're worked with and consulted with on what works universally to take schools to way into the seven figures. That's a commonality now compared to 10 years ago. 10
Right.
years ago, the $1 million mark was like an exception. It's not an exception in our group anymore. $2 million is the exception. And we have schools that are hitting 2 million, no summer camps or after school pickups, none of that stuff. But that elevates everybody else. So what do? We go to those people and say, share your story. What are you doing? How are you running the team meetings? But by the way, the systems are exactly the same. They just execute them better.
Yeah.
I mean, and the difference between this year and last year is you're executing the systems better.
Yeah, and you said you're going to close with this, and I got to close because then I got to go chat with one of your schools. But the system. Listen, I had a client. I talked to him a few days ago. He goes, we had a record month in February, and they're around the same student count, right? Like literally within 3 students of us, right? Because he had just come to visit my school about a month ago, and he said we have around the same. He goes, we have the same students. He goes, and we had a record month last month. And he goes. And then I saw what you did, and it was double. And then he goes, and then March, we killed it. We had a record month ever. Like it's been a record month we've ever had. He goes, and you doubled it again. He goes, I don't understand how you're doing it. And that's when I said to him, I said, and this is going to sound simple, team. It's going to sound easy. But when I go in and meet with my team, there's a conversation that I have every day. It revolves around 3 things. What are we doing today for retention, recruitment, and revenue? And we go through the calendar and who's on I'm not going to get into all the details, but we go through everything together. And that is our focus. That's our focus. And we say, well, what about clean the school? What about the bathroom? Yeah, that gets done at some point, but it is not my focus. My focus is on what are we doing and who's coming in and everyone's on the same page and everyone's working together as a team. And that's when things start to get magical, and that's when things get to be fun. So the systems work, man. I can't emphasize it enough. The systems are unbelievable. They work awesome, regardless of where you are. It's just a matter of whether or not you work the system. And in talking with clients a lot, I find out that we tend to major in the minors, and we don't focus on the right things in the business. And there's frustration because they feel like they're busy, and no one argues the fact that you're busy. No one argues that you're working 70 hours a week. But I would say this, you're working harder. You're not working smarter. And there's sometimes we have to do both. But right now there's a way smarter way to work than what we're doing. And if we just changed our focus, we'd absolutely crush it. We'd crush it.
I think that's good. So it's Q2. Are you going to work on your business and prepare for summer and understand what it is you're marketing and understand the mission on how to retain, generate revenue, and recruit? Would you like help? We'd love to help you. Click this, join the school community, reach out to us, and we'll give you information and we'll tell you how we can help you.
That's right.
I mean, it's that simple. So, but I appreciate everybody here. I love the industry, love my fellow martial arts family. And I wish everybody nothing but the best. So a lot of this is just passion about trying to help this industry be better. And we know we can. So
it is.
With that task,
yes,
please make sure you hold my team accountable when you do a call with them. By the way, even I pay for Maya. That's why he's going to be calling one of my schools, 2 of my schools.
That's right.
All right. Anyway, touch base after.
Appreciate you. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you guys. Bye-bye.